What happens when the life you planned, the career, the relationship, the identity you built, all suddenly changes? In today's episode, we're talking about unexpected transitions, what it feels like to let go of who you thought you'd be, and how to trust God's redirection even when it doesn't make sense. Welcome back to the Confident Kingdom Woman podcast. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another episode of the Confident Kingdom Woman podcast.
Yes.
Laura, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about all things when God redirects you. In the last episode, we talked about planning for your life, building a vision, and starting to think 5, 10, 15 years out. Today, we are talking about what happens when God redirects that plan, because we know He will. It is inevitable.
It is inevitable.
The plan is going to change, but how do you work through those changes, those transitions in life? That's what we're getting into today. But a part of that also includes letting go of who you thought you would be in this plan and in this journey. Because I think when we have a plan, we also have this idea of ourselves of like, and this is how I'm going to be. This is how I'm going to end up, or just all of those things. And so let's get into it, because I know we both have some experience in this, recent, past, definitely in the future.
So let me ask you this, Laura. Were you one of those people who, when you were younger, like you had your whole life like planned out, mapped out to a T?
I didn't have it mapped out to a T, but I had an idea and a plan.
Okay.
And unlike other people, my plan sped up quicker than I thought. So like, fun facts about me, like I graduated high school at 16. I graduated college at 20. I was married by 25. Like some of that was my plan. Some of that was not my plan. Everything after 25, I have not planned. Nothing else has been planned. But I will say, like, I did have an idea of like, I'm going to go to college and then I'm going to move. Like, for example, when I moved to Florida, so I was in college when I first came to visit like this area, and I fell in love. It was my freshman year of college, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm here for the summer. This is so fun. I'm moving to Florida when I graduate. And I said that for 3 years. How was I getting down here? What job was I going to work? I had no idea. But I told everybody, I'm moving to Florida after graduation. I'm going to move to Florida. And it happened. Praise God. Like I ended up moving to Florida, had a job opportunity, all that worked out. But that's probably the extent of my plan. But what about you? Like, were you someone who planned everything?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, like I had, even especially after I got saved and I got called to ministry, it's like I had my whole life like mapped out down to my husband's height and weight. Who has not showed up yet, by the way.
What?
Yeah, so I did. Like I had just this very detailed idea of what I wanted my life to look like.
Yeah.
And what I wanted it to be. And so, and to a degree, like a lot of the things, it did happen, but it didn't look how I thought it was going to look. Like, for instance, when I first got called to ministry, the only framework I had for ministry was pastoring a church.
Okay.
So for a long time, I thought I was going to pastor a church.
Yeah.
But then the Lord opened up a door for me to work at a church as a discipleship coordinator. And then I got exposed to other frameworks of ministry. So now I like, oh, you can be a Bible teacher without having to pastor a church. And so I started to do that. And so some of the things, they did happen, but they just didn't look how I wanted them to look.
Right.
And then some of the things, they just never happened at all, at least not yet. So
okay. I feel like that's a common denominator when it comes to like people's plans for their lives. I think especially after some years, everyone's like, some things did, some things didn't.
Right.
And most of the things that did not happen in the way that we expected.
Right.
So interesting. I don't know why. Like, I know that you're a planner, like in your personal life, but I don't know why. I didn't think like your whole life you had originally planned out.
I had it all planned out.
Now, I wasn't that person that like, oh, as a little girl, like I planned out my wedding and like what color dress. Like I'm not that type of planner, but I did have like some level of idea of like what I wanted. So,
you know, now that I'm thinking about this and having this conversation with you, and just even in the context of thinking about, like we talked about in the previous episode, having the long-term vision and also being sensitive to when God begins to shift your direction or redirect you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking now, like maybe, just maybe in this next season of my life, God may be, working on bringing some of those other things that haven't happened yet, to pass in my life. So that's kind of where I was coming from in the last episode when I was kind of encouraging people, like, don't give up. Like, God's not done. Your story is not over yet.
Right. Right. No, that's good. Like, don't let go of those dreams or those thoughts. I feel like I definitely am someone who was encouraged by that episode because I feel there are some things in my younger years, my younger life that I had dreams for and I had desires and thoughts for that I've kind of just let fall by the wayside. Like, I just never picked them up again. It was like, oh, I'm 12 years old and this thing is what I want. Oh, that thing didn't work. I guess it just wasn't meant to be. And you're like, no, like, maybe it wasn't meant for then, but it could mean for now.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah. So today's episode, we want to talk a little bit about, okay, when you have had this dream, you've had this vision, you've had this picture of what your life was going to look like or what certain aspects of your life were going to look like. And then you get to this point in your life where it's like you're starting to lose sight of that thing.
Yeah.
Or you feel like God is like that door hasn't opened yet. How do we kind of let go of those things and allow God to redirect us and show us something different?
Yeah. I think the first thing you have to do is realize like what is happening in the season that you're in. Because I think sometimes it's easy for us, particularly with myself. I'm always going to say myself because I'm like, I don't want to speak for other people, but it's easy to become really hard on yourself and think like either you did something wrong or something messed up somewhere along the way. And you just kind of just start to spiral in your own thoughts about what's happening without coming up for a breath and being like, oh, like, maybe this is God's doing. Like, maybe God is trying to shift me. Right now, I feel like God is shoving me because clearly I was not moving on my own. So, he works in different ways with different people. But I think you have to first realize what is happening in the season that you're in. And then once you realize that, I think you do have to do like a quick faith check and be like, okay, Lord, I still believe in you. You're still the head of my life. Like, clearly this is not what I wanted or where I thought I was going. So I need to settle my soul and remind myself like, hey, you are leading me. So let me pay attention to where are you leading me right now? What doors are you opening? What doors are you closing? Because I think it's easy to be like, I'm just going to move on to the next thing. And then when the next thing doesn't come and you're like, okay, clearly I'm not moving on to the next thing. What do I do? Like, you have to just really become lockstep with God.
Right.
And realize there's going to be times where he's going to have you wait and pause. And there's going to be times where he's going to have you move. But you've got to be ready with whatever he's doing next.
And you know what? That is kind of what I'm getting ready to go on a tangent here. But that was the heart behind the last episode. Is almost a sense of preparing for whatever is next. Also, one thing that you mentioned was about being hard on yourself. And sometimes we feel like when something doesn't work out the way we thought, or when God begins to shift us, we view it as failure. Or like you said, we view it as something's wrong with us, or we did something wrong. And we have to be so careful not to allow those thoughts to take root, because, we got to make sure we cast those things down and make sure that we align our thoughts and those internal conversations with what God says about us.
Yeah. And it's not easy. Like,
It's not.
It's probably one of the hardest things that I've dealt with in my life personally, just because I've never had to, I guess, really like face yourself in the mirror like this, right? Like, I talked about like, oh, I had this idea for my life and some of this stuff worked. Like, yeah, I went to school, I moved to Florida, I got married. But there's other things in my life where I'm just like, oh, you want me to close this door? Okay, great. Like, what am I going to do
Now
next?
what?
Yeah, because you didn't realize that a lot of times we're tying these things to our identity without knowing.
Exactly.
And when you do that, when that thing is no longer there, it feels like a gut punch. It feels like a, oh God, why me? When he's just like, it was never you in the first place.
Yep.
Like, some things that you did, things you were involved in, whether that's ministry, whether that's school, volunteering, like businesses, whatever, there's some things that are really just seasonal.
Yeah.
And if I
think that's hard for us to grasp sometimes.
Yeah.
When a season is over and when God is saying, okay, you did that.
Yep.
That was great. But now I'm moving you into something else. Curious to know, like, if you're watching or listening in the comments, let us know, like, what is that thing that you just knew was going to happen in your life? You were just set on it, and then God began to shift and redirect you. I'm just curious to know how that has happened in the listeners' lives.
Yeah, for sure. We can't be so quick to just throw everything away when God is transitioning us in these seasons.
Absolutely. So I think it's important, two things to understand. Number one is that God knows the thoughts and the plans that he has for each one of us.
Yeah.
And we have to be confident that even if it doesn't look like we thought, that it's still all going to work together for our good. That God's thoughts and plans, get this, might actually be better than the ones we have for ourselves. But that takes a lot of faith and a lot of trust to be able to let go of everything you thought and follow, like he told Abraham, I want you to leave that familiar place and go to somewhere that I'm going to show you. And I think a lot of us get stuck because we don't know yet what the next thing is. And so we don't know what to do because we're so used to this, and God hasn't quite shown us what the next thing was. So we feel like kind of like we're wandering almost.
But you know what that exposes?
What's that?
It exposes a gap in your relationship. And I think that's the harder part of that to like deal with and sit with, because if God is going to lead you somewhere else, like let's take Abraham, that example. Like God didn't tell him on day one, hey, leave all this. And then on day two, here's exactly where you're going.
Right.
Like there was a period of time where Abraham truly just had to follow and trust and day by day and step by step go with God. And I think in our society today, everybody is so hyper-focused on stability and familiarity, and you have it all together and you want to look all together. And when that's not your reality, it feels like failure.
Right.
It feels like something's not working, when in reality, you have to pause and be like, okay, am I truly trusting God in this? And if I'm not, then what am I going to do about it?
I think you just reminded me that, we have to also keep in mind that the end all be all is not what you do, but it's who you become. And I think sometimes, I'm convicting myself here. I get so focused on the accomplishment or, the achievement that I forget that this is really about, like you said, my relationship with the Lord. And I think sometimes he does have to redirect us and cause us to let some things go so that we will redirect our focus on him and assess, okay, what is this saying? What is this saying about my relationship with God and my ability to really trust him when things don't look like how I thought?
It's totally countercultural. It goes against everything that everybody else is saying right now, because it forces you to realize that at the end of the day, my life is a journey.
Right.
Like we are all hoping to make it somewhere with someone at the end of all of this. But we're so focused on what can I grab in between and what can I do in between. And I think too, one of the reasons why it's hard to not make what you do a part of your identity is because that's the first thing someone asks you.
Right.
When you meet someone, what is it? And what do you do? That is like, I don't know. It's one of the hardest questions sometimes to answer, because you're like, do I meet them where they're at and just tell them what I do for my living?
Right.
Or do I actually just pause and tell them about who I am as a person? It can be difficult.
It can be. So the point of this is, although, yes, we want to have a plan. The Bible says a man's heart plans his way, but it's the Lord who directs his steps. And so even in our planning and in our visioning for the future, we have to remember that we don't know everything, and that God may not show us the whole picture, that he may show us one small step at a time. And so we just have to be willing to follow him wherever he leads us to, even if it's not where we thought.
Yeah. That.
Yes.
It's hard. It's sobering. It's humbling, but it's the best plan.
It is.
It will always be the best
plan. And it requires a lot of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can throw on one more thing, that we have to enjoy this journey. Don't get so focused. And now I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
Because I can, listen, y'all. I'm learning that I can get like hyper focused on something and just do the most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and it goes from one thing to the next.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm focused on my health. Okay, I'm focused on, my career. Okay, just enjoy your life.
Yep.
Just relax. Just relax and find a way to enjoy this season. Yes, this season. This season that does not look like how you thought.
Mm-hmm.
Find a way to enjoy it.
Yep. I had to chuckle because people have said that for years, like, enjoy the journey, find joy in the journey. And you're just like, especially like in your early 20s, you're just like, there's no joy in this journey. Like, I'm trying to figure out my life. But as you get older, you do realize, and as you're reminded, like, this is the only life you have.
Mm-hmm.
Until we get to the other side. Like, we are only responsible for this time here. So learn to relax, learn to laugh, learn to enjoy. I'm reminded of a quote that one of my old leaders in college gave me at one point, which I'm not married to it, but the sentiment of it is true. And it was like, just learn to look at life through the eyes of a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, okay. And he's just like, when you see a dog, dogs are normally always happy. When you come, they're super happy. When you leave, they're sad, but they're happy because they know you're coming back. When they get food, they're happy. When they go on a walk, they're happy. Like, they've just learned, if you will, to find the joy in life and whatever you're doing with them. And I'm just like, okay, that's fair. Not fully realistic for a human, but I get the sentiment of you have to learn to find the joy in the things that you're doing. And that takes practice. It takes daily intention, because not everything that we do is going to make us happy, quote unquote. But there's a difference between happiness and joy.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of that, I know one thing that we were talking about earlier that I want to mention is when we talk about these transitions, it's okay to experience a little bit of grief in these transitions. And for me, that's something that I didn't realize was a thing when it came to transitions in life, but you will. Like, there will be moments where you will grieve the person that you thought you were going to become, or the thing that you thought was going to come to fruition. And I'm learning, you just take that grief to God, because he already knows. He already knows where he wants you to go. He already knows the disappointments that you're holding in your heart. So just keep that in mind of like, every transition is not going to be easy. It's not going to be wanted, but it is going to be most likely the best thing that God has for you.
Ooh, help us, Lord.
It's not easy, but it's a part of it. And then, like you
Amen.
mentioned, plans are not contracts.
They're not.
As much as we want to make them contracts and blueprints, even a blueprint, let's say for a construction, they change things here and there. Codes change, permits change. And so if we stopped looking at our life with so much seriousness around being rigid, then we'd realize, you know what? There's ebbs and flows, and there's twists and turns, and God has us in all of it.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. I hope that blessed y'all. It blessed me.
Same.
So just follow God's plan. We may not always understand everything that he does and his timing and all that stuff, but just follow God's plan and you'll end up where you're supposed to be.
There you go. And with that, we will see you all in the next one. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Confident Kingdom Woman podcast, where we're focused on building your faith, confidence, and discipline so you can fully step into the woman God created you to be. If this spoke to you, share it with another woman, and we'll see you in the next episode.